So I'm very excited to be here today with Darra Goldstein. Darra, you are our lead scholar on YIVO's upcoming course, A Seat at the Table, A Journey into Jewish Food. You're a food scholar and also a cookbook author. So I want to start by asking you, what are you cooking these days?
I'm doing a lot of cooking and a lot of baking, like much of the world. There's great comfort being in the kitchen. So what I made last night was using up the last of our potatoes from last summer's harvest, and I made a beautiful potato and coriander soup. And I also participated in this matzah challenge from the JDC in New York City. A donor will give money if you post a matzah recipe. So I made a pretty awesome matzah toast with a Tosca topping, which is a Swedish topping made with almonds and sugar and butter and cream, and it's like candy.
Sounds absolutely delicious. I'm sorry I couldn't taste it myself.
I'll make you some next year.
Fantastic. So why should we be studying the history of Ashkenazi Jewish food? We've been working together on this course for a while now, and I think people are probably curious to know, is there anything that's distinctive about this particular history and the foodways themselves?
There's a lot that's distinctive. Every cuisine has its own characteristics. I'd say that for Ashkenazi Jewish food, one of the hallmarks is a love of the sweet and the sour together. There are a lot of garlic. There is a lot of garlic and onions, which used to be considered a negative in terms of stereotyping Jews. Now, of course, it's considered very positive. But I think in a larger context, what we need to think about is that historically it was a food of poverty, of scarcity, but also a food of celebration weekly for the Sabbath. And so people would scrimp and save during the week, and then they would have an all-out dinner as much as their budgets could afford for Friday. And one of the other things that I think characterizes it is that there's a lot of talk about slow cooking, especially in these complicated times that we're going through. But Sabbath cooking is the ultimate slow cooking. If you think about chicken soup that needs to simmer, if you think about cholent, which is this beautiful slow cooked stew with meat, if you have it, or else with beans and vegetables. So I think that those are some of the aspects that define it. In a larger sense, it's also traveled all over the world. And so you have Ashkenazi cuisine, for instance, as people will find out when they take the course, in Mexico, where latkes are served with mole. So it's continually morphing.
Yeah, so we have a lot of lectures in this class with scholars such as yourself. We also have these cooking demonstrations, and we have downloadable recipes so people can download the recipe in a PDF and try the recipe at home and cook. What do you think people can gain by cooking at the same time, cooking the food at the same time that they're studying its history? What do they gain by that?
It's so important to not just read about food, but actually experience it. You need the smells and the flavors, the taste, the texture, the whole experience of entering into the project of making the food gives you another level of understanding, and then you have enjoyment at the end.
Just your mention of latkes and mole, there's like a Pavlovian response that I immediately want to try them. So we also have hundreds of archival objects that you've been helping us curate from the YIVO archives. And if we can get this to work here, I'm going to share my screen. I thought we could preview some of these archival objects for people as a sneak peek. And you can maybe tell us what we're looking at here.
Okay.
Let's see if we can get this to work. Darra, you see that?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite objects. I really love these stamps from Israel. They were issued in the year 2000, so it wasn't all that long ago. And Israeli cuisine is really trendy now. It's Sephardic Mediterranean flavors. But what we have here is gefilte fish, which is pure Ashkenazi. And I like these stamps, not only because they're bright and playful, but it's showing an old-fashioned fish grinder and this food that has become iconic. So it gives us an opportunity to talk about food as a marker of identity.
Mm. It seems to, would you say there's some nostalgia here, but with maybe a kind of a contemporary Israeli twist of the bright colors and the Israeli sun kind of shining on this old world food?
Yes, and in terms of graphic design, it's really beautifully done.
Yeah.
So yes, it's an old world food, but it has a very contemporary vibe. And that's one of the things that I hope this course will communicate. We're looking a lot at the history because I think that's something people don't know so much about. But I want people to understand that Ashkenazi cooking is not just stuck in the past.
Absolutely. All right. This one, what are we looking at?
Another personal favorite. Well, this shows American ingenuity for one thing. It shows the American food industry, but it also shows this very particular relationship between Jews and Chinese food. It's become sort of a cliche that on Christmas Day, especially in cities like New York, Jews will go to Chinese restaurants because they're open. And the classic Jewish Christmas is spent at a Chinese restaurant. So here you can bring it right into the home and have chow mein. This was very popular in the 50s. I remember it from my childhood. It's pretty disgusting, I think, in terms of taste and the whole history of chow mein, which is a kind of American invention, but it shows the way Ashkenazi food has adapted to new environments. Or I should say, the way Ashkenazi Jews have adapted to new environments.
Right. I don't know if they were eating so much chow mein
No, they were not.
in Poland and Lithuania.
A very important part of the Ashkenazi palate.
Great. All right, one more here.
Bagels and yaks. So yaks is the plural of yuck. It's just a belly laugh, and bagels and lox become bagels and yaks. And this is the sheet music for a 1952 vaudeville revue that was very, very popular with great music. And this is another thing we talk about in the course. It's not specifically food, but it's how food has entered the popular imagination. How a food like bagels, which started out as a very Jewish thing, is now ubiquitous in grocery stores, frozen. It's become supersized at bagel stores. But also the idea of the Borscht Belt in the Catskills, where comedians like Sid Caesar, Woody Allen, Jerry Seinfeld got their starts. That type of Jewish humor, particularly having to do with food, is part of Americana too.
Great. So that's just a brief sneak peek that we wanted to give to everyone watching. But if people want to learn more about the class and sign up, they can visit yivo.explore for all of our online resources. There are many of them. They can visit yivo.org/food to sign up for a seat at the table with you, Darra, and many other scholars and cookbook authors and chefs. We're launching the class on May 1st. It's free, and in fact, all of our online classes are free as a reminder to the folks who are interested. I'm so happy we were able to chat briefly today, Darra, and I hope we'll be cooking together soon at some point.
I hope so too, Ben. Really looking forward to the launch of the class.
Thank you, Darra. See you soon.
Bye.
Take care.